So certainly there was a reason for some trepidation with last night's Bulls-Nets game. Because the Bulls, you talk about Kobe White's out due to COVID, although you question how much of a real loss that is. Similarly with Patrick Williams, he's been out for a month plus now with the broken wrist. But again, I'd kind of question just how much of a loss that really is for this current build of Bulls team. But the point I'm getting at here is this is a team that has two players that they've invested pretty high draft picks on in recent years that they were anticipating being like key cogs, role players on this squad that are not there right now. Then you take the fact that Javonte Green also tested positive for COVID, so he's out of the lineup for a little bit. And then you hear murmurs about Alex Caruso having a hamstring problem and that you're not sure if he's going to play or not, but he's going to try and give it a go. Not the best spot to be in when you're on the road trying to beat the Nets in New York right after you beat the Knicks in New York. Pretty tough spot to be in. And we got to call it as it is. The first 3 quarters of this game were bad. The Bulls just did not play well at all. They were off a little offensively, even though they were shooting the ball well. At times, they were just, again, not taking advantage of mismatches, specifically Vucevic with somebody like a Bruce Brown on him in the post or James Harden on him in the post. That lack of awareness at times by this team is still a little worrisome, and it certainly manifests in the first 3 quarters of this game against the Nets Saturday night. One of the killer things for this Bulls team, especially early, you're getting shellacked with points in the paint, you're getting shellacked on the glass, and you watch this team in the first quarter and you're saying, oh God, this could get ugly, but yet the Nets were only up 34-28 after 1. DeAndre Bembry was the leading scorer for the Nets in that first with 8. Harden had 6 on what was I'm going to play fat boy 40-year-old YMCA ball game for him. He looked kind of washed in that one. I'm sorry. Levine had 8 and Caruso had 6 to lead Chicago. And Caruso gave it an effort. He was game. He tried. But the reality was it wasn't there. He wasn't feeling right. You could clearly see it when he was running up and down the floor. So they got him out of the lineup. So now you're without Caruso the rest of the game. So you were putting guys in spots you probably didn't want to put him in, such as Troy Brown Jr., eventually Tony Bradley. You had to figure out a way to get it done with the pieces that you had in place. And even going into halftime, whereas it seemed like the Bulls were playing really bad basketball, and maybe I'm just being overly negative, and that could be, but honestly, did you really get a sense or a vibe that this team was playing good basketball? I really didn't. The Nets felt like they were a vastly superior team, and maybe a lot of that has to do with how they were hitting the offensive glass and the boards in general. The Nets out-rebounded the Bulls 39-25 in the first half. Think about that, 39-25. That's a significant advantage on the glass. It gave the Nets more chances at second chance points, which they were killing the Bulls early on with that. For fuck's sake, 6'4", 6'5", Bruce Brown had 11 rebounds at half. I mean, the Bulls are just getting slaughtered on the boards. And that's why you could have Durant with 12 points but only shooting 5 of 13 from the field, and Harden with 10 but shooting like crap, and still have a 4-point lead at half. Meanwhile, for the Bulls, you had your big 3 were kind of playing all right. DeRozan had 14 at the half. Levine had 11. Vucevic had 9, but nobody else was really stepping up. Nobody else was really showing out at all. So you're thinking to yourself, maybe, hey, this Bulls team is playing really poorly right now, but they're still in this game. And that was the way I was looking at it, too. I'm like, when you look at this, they're not playing well, and they're in it. That's a good thing, as much as you want to say. And even in the third quarter, it really didn't get any better. Like, there were some ugly stretches of ball in that stanza as well. And yet, when you look at it after 3 quarters, the Bulls were only down 3. And this is where I thought to myself, when you look at the fact you're without several players, you had Caruso go out in the first quarter, you've gotten slaughtered on the glass, slaughtered in terms of second chance points, points in the paint, all of that through 3 quarters. And yet somehow, some way, this Bulls team is only down 3. I'm like, they can legitimately win this damn game. Seriously. And wouldn't you know, in the fourth quarter, that's what they found a way to do. And this was fantastic. Ayo had some really big spots. Again, if you keep going down this Kobe White crap, just stop. It is so clearly obvious that Ayo makes Kobe completely and totally expendable. It is so obvious that Ayo provides so much more in his all-around game. You cannot continue to take away minutes from an Ayo Dosunmu for the benefit of trying to prop up Cody White to be something he's never going to be in Chicago. It's got to stop. In the fourth quarter, it was great to see, your two wing stars, Zach LaVine with some big shots and drives to the basket late. DeRozan was absolutely felt like money from the mid-range in the fourth quarter, like showing that alpha dog type of stuff, and somehow, some way, in spite of the poor play for 3 quarters, getting killed on the glass and being without so many players, the Bulls found a way to win this game 111-107. One of the big differences you can point to in this game was the Bulls were better at getting to the hoop. And that's even with the fact that they blatantly just ignored calling several fouls they could have and should have called on Kevin Durant. The Bulls were 19 of 27 from the free throw line. The Nets were only 7 of 9. So that 12-point differential from the free throw strike made a massive difference in this game for Chicago. You had LaVine finish with 31, DeRozan, to me again, making a case for an MVP candidate, had 29, Vucevic and Ayo with 11 each. And Ayo's 11 points still doesn't represent like his overall impact in that game, that energy, that burst that he brought, especially in the fourth quarter. For the Nets, Kevin Durant had 28 and 10 boards. Aldridge had 20. James Harden had 14, but on 5 of 21, like, he looked like shit. One of those games that he doesn't really care, but, to me is more of a reflection of the fact he doesn't get the same garbage-ass foul calls he used to get. So when he doesn't get those, like, his game is really limited, and you saw that. Sure, he missed a bunch of shots, and that doesn't help, but, what I referenced earlier, he looked like some 40-year-old dude playing fat boy ball at the Y on a Sunday afternoon. That's what the fuck he looked like here. He looked terrible. But hell with all that, what I'm excited about is this is the type of game that a great team wins. And I've been looking for indications that the Bulls can be a great team. I've said all year they're a good team, pretty good team. But they're not doing some of the things I would expect a great team to do. Like when you have a Knicks team down early by 20, you have to put them away and put them out of their misery and rest your starters in the fourth. Those are the types of things that they haven't been doing. But here, the Bulls had no business winning this game for 3+ quarters because they were not playing good basketball. And yet when it came down to it, they found a way to get enough baskets, enough defensive stops when it mattered, and they fucking ran to the bus. This is one of these run-to-the-bus victories. You know you have no business winning it, yet you did. That's what a great team does. Snatches victory from the jaws of defeat. And as I watched this game and I got going on social media, the thing really stood out to me is the Bulls have beat the Nets twice now. The Bulls are like a game out of the top seed in the Eastern Conference. Who knows what's going to happen a season 2, 3 down the road. Each year is its own individual thing, even in today's NBA. You've got to go all in and all in now. You didn't make the sign and trade for DeRozan, the sign and trade for Lonzo Ball, the bringing in of Alex Caruso to sit there and be a 4 or 5 seed. And with the way you've gotten off to this start earlier in the year, you've got to go for it, and you've got to go for it now. And you see like Will Perdue talking on the Bulls post game about maybe it's time to trade Cody White. You think? That's kind of a safe-ass viewpoint because anybody with a brain can see the need to trade him, which is he's a total luxury at this point, not bringing much value. Meanwhile, you could flip him into some type of front court role player that you clearly saw in this game the Bulls are going to badly need, especially come playoff time when you face some teams with some damn size. They're going to get roasted and killed on the boards. But Bulls fans also need to change their mindset. You have to be willing to go all in now. And of course, dealing with fucking idiotic Chicago fans, they would rather say, I don't want to trade Patrick Williams. He's only 20. He's got all types of upside and potential. Assholes! The Bulls legitimately have a chance to get out of the Eastern Conference this year. And once you get to the NBA Finals, who knows what the hell happens? There may never be a better opportunity. You have to strike, and you have to strike now. To sit there and say, you're not willing to part with Patrick Williams as part of a bigger deal, to bring in another difference maker, to put yourself into a championship position, is fucking idiotic. The Bulls last won a world championship when Bill Clinton was president and Justin Fields wasn't even alive and I was in goddamn high school. 1998. How much longer do you assholes want to wait? You remember the 2011 season, Derrick Rose, MVP year, blah, 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 and all that other crap, and then knee injury? Tomorrow is not promised to anybody. You have to go now. Well, we think Patrick Williams has all types of upside. Where the fuck is it then? He's not even going to play pretty much all the regular season. I'm not trying to shit on the kid. The reality is even if he has this Luol Deng type of upside and potential that a lot of you have tried to convince yourself that he does because A.K. and Eversley took him 4th overall last year, the freaking reality is he is never going to see that potential be fully realized, being no better than the 5th option on this damn Bulls team. Like, ding dong, dumb dicks, wake the fuck up. If you could take a Kobe White and a Patrick Williams and use them as the foundation along with the pick you got from Portland and a future first-round pick or two, get a 3 or 4 team deal going, and you sit there and pull the trigger for somebody like a Pascal Siakam, you fucking do it 100 out of 100 times and just say you wouldn't is stupidity. And mediocrity is the highest order. Do you want to try and win a championship? Or do you want to sit there and wait for somebody to develop that may never develop, especially given the current situation and circumstance with the Bulls organization? Like watching this game, you saw the first real flash of this Bulls team potentially being a great team. Depleted, play like shit for 3 quarters, beat the best team in the East, which they've now done twice. And both times they've beaten the Nets this year, they did it with impressive 4th quarter performances. I'm looking for something that gives me an indication that this team could go to that level. You got it Saturday night. There is no tomorrow. Fuck the future. You have to go all in. You have to go all in right now. And the quicker you can do so, the better. Because the Bulls are in a position right now where they could potentially get the top seed in the Eastern Conference, meaning that the road to the NBA Finals goes through Chicago. You can clearly see right now that this Bulls team as currently constructed is on the cusp, this close, but does not have enough. You know this. You saw enough of those flaws in this Nets game. And no Kobe White or Patrick Williams in the goddamn world is going to change that. They're just not. Are you going to stubbornly cling to the mindset of mediocrity, of stupidity, of waiting for draft picks to develop when you don't have time for them to develop? Or are you going to use those pieces to get you assets, to get you players that can help you win a title right now? I hope all of you start waking up. But I know I'm dealing with dumbass Bears and Bulls fans here. And you say, why would I throw the Bears in? Because it's the same fucking thing, really. The moment at hand has come. If you care about the right thing, and the only right thing to care about is to win a championship, then you have to go balls to the walls, balls deep, all in now. That means you trade Kobe. That means you trade Patrick Williams. You do whatever you got to do to get you the pieces that can put you over the hump, and you figure out the rest of the shit later. Because I can guarantee you right now, this team as currently constructed can go a distance in the playoffs, but they might not get to the finals, and they certainly aren't winning it all. If you want to be sure that you have a legitimate chance to get out of the East and potentially contend with a team like the Warriors and the Suns in the finals, then you know you've got to do something. Then go out and do it.